We are going live with Secretary Buttigieg. Let's do this. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you, Secretary?
Good, nice to see you.
Great to see you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
so
having
nice to
me.
meet you.
For sure. How is Washington?
You know, the sun just came out. I'm not quite in the location it looks like you're in, but we're happy. It was gloomy all week, and now it's starting to look appealing out there. Spring is in the air after all.
So glad to hear it. Hate to tell you, we're both located in Los Angeles, so I won't tell
That's
you
fine.
how
Okay.
hot it is outside. Well, awesome. Let's jump right in. My name is Lucia. I'm joining from Upworthy, a platform that celebrates the best of humanity. So folks come to us for a sense of optimism and just a forward-looking view of the world. So it's great to meet you. And I'll pass to Gabe.
Hi, Secretary Buttigieg. It's so nice to meet you. My name's Gabriel, and I run the @Good account. And we're all about creating the change that you want to see in the world. And, that means solving problems that we're faced with, confronting hate, and just generally trying to help people out. So very happy that we get the chance to talk to you about the American Rescue Plan.
Well, same here. It's a lot to talk about, so I'm looking forward to it.
For sure.
And we're going to start by reading the whole bill. I hear that.
Sounds good. I'll see you in
Page by
about 10
page,
hours.
please. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'd love to just jump in kind of broadly, Secretary Buttigieg. I'd love to understand, the bill, there's a lot in here. So can you just sort of break it down for us of how this is exactly going to affect someone's day-to-day? I think a lot of our audience members are excited about it, but I'd love to understand just sort of what we should be excited about specifically.
So I think of the core of the bill as shots and checks. So getting checks out to families and Americans who have been impacted by this, and most Americans are going to get that support. Those $1,400 checks are keeping a promise that the president made and that a lot of politicians had been making in the past, that we're able to actually deliver now, thanks to the American Rescue Plan. And then shots, right? Getting shots in arms. If we want to meet that goal of getting back to a normal life, then the most important thing is to make sure that everybody's vaccinated and protected from this virus. And so the bill does a lot to make sure that we're able to get those doses of vaccination out to where they can be administered. Now, that's not all there is to the bill. There are a lot of things that are all designed around the same goal, which is making America stronger and making us all better off, but a lot of different pieces to that. For example, there's a child tax credit. That's going to lift half, it's going to cut child poverty in this country by half. We're talking about lifting millions out of poverty with the provisions that are in this bill. There's something in there to keep healthcare premiums lower than they would have been otherwise, something that's going to make a big difference for a lot of people. Rent, a lot of people struggling on rent. This is going to keep people in their homes. And as the Secretary of Transportation, some of what I'm most excited about is support for transit. So just think about all the transit agencies. They depend on the revenue, at least partly, that comes in when you pay your fare when you get on, and their ridership crashed in the aftermath of the pandemic. Same thing for Amtrak. And if those transit agencies weren't able to stay going, if they were going to have to cut routes or lay off workers, then that would also make it harder to get to where your vaccine is. So you see how all these things are connected, and it's a really important package because it brought all of that together, took action, and it's going to help us move out of this crisis that we're in right now.
Great. I feel like the stimulus checks are kind of like the popular kid in class that's getting all the attention. But there's, I was listening to someone who almost described like Easter eggs in the bill. Just a lot of different things that are worth paying attention to. What are, some of the other specifics in there that you think, people should really be aware of?
So yeah, the vaccine program is one thing that I would point to because this doesn't just happen, right? It's one thing to manufacture the vaccine or to invent the vaccine. It's another thing to actually get it out to people. So there's a lot of funding to actually make sure that can happen. You look at the measures just to make sure that workers are better off, that people who have been hit in terms of our bottom line, in terms of getting through life, get the support they need. That's why the rental assistance, the housing assistance is so important. There's $1.7 billion in here for Amtrak because Amtrak had to cut back on their routes because they lost so many riders with everything that happened with the shutdowns. This gets Amtrak back on track, so to speak. So again, I'm excited about the transportation specific pieces, but there's really something in here that's going to make everyone's life better off. It is major legislation, and I'm so glad to actually see the action on this, because sometimes these things get talked about a lot, but nothing actually happens. And to be less than 100 days into President Biden's presidency and to already be able to deliver this, it's a huge deal.
Pretty amazing. I think it's 58. Is that right? Is that the number?
I think that's right.
Yesterday?
Yeah, day 58,
pretty
which
incredible.
also is pretty exciting for us because the president's goal is to get 100 million vaccine doses to Americans into the first 100 days. We beat that. Day 58, and today was the day they were able to make that official. Matter of fact, the president's at the Centers for Disease Control right now talking about it.
It's incredible. That's so wonderful. So I'd love to understand, how people know how they qualify or receive these benefits. I think there's a little bit of confusion around, when can I get my vaccine? How are stimulus checks being distributed, childcare, et cetera. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, definitely. So the best place to go for information on this is whitehouse.gov/ARP. That's for American Rescue Plan. whitehouse.gov/ARP. You can get a bunch of information there. Basically, to answer that question, what does this mean for me? Some folks have already gotten their payments, but this is very early, of course, in the process of delivering all of that. And so you can get more information there.
Sounds good.
Great. So I think it's kind of easy to get lost in the size of the bill and, all the benefits and, bullet points that are in there. And it's all great stuff, but I kind of wanted to bring it down to like the people who are going to benefit from this. And I'm curious, just from your personal experience, obviously, you were running for president and you've traveled the country and you've been going through what we've all been going through in some similar ways. And are there any people that you've met or stories that you've heard over the past year that kind of exemplified why you think this is so important to pass, that has really stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly the workers whose jobs were on the line. And, this isn't theoretical. I mean, you look at what happened to millions of American workers who lost their jobs, others who were wondering if they were going to make it through the year. I'm thinking about flight attendants, for example. So one of the moments that made me smile, the biggest smile after this bill got passed, was seeing that some of the airlines wrote their employees and said, those furlough notices, those warnings that you were going to potentially lose your jobs. We're past that. You can tear up those furlough notices. You don't have to worry anymore. And just getting that relief for people, and think about what people working in that sector have been through already. Just over the course of the last year, that's a big deal. And again, that has a big economic effect that goes beyond the individual who's made better off, because that means that they can continue to thrive in their community. These are the kinds of things that make this, I think, very real. And a lot of folks that I talked to when I was running for president who were really in danger of losing their homes. Wages have not kept up, rents are going through the roof, and then you had this added effect of people losing their jobs, right? So to have the kind of assistance that is in here to keep people in their homes, I know that there are people that I met on the campaign trail who might have lost their homes but for the American Rescue Plan.
Great. I wanted to mention that both Upworthy and Good are dedicated to the best of humanity. And so we attract a really wide audience of millions and millions of people, sort of regardless of politics, which is really lovely because it sort of lives in this bipartisan space of what's important to you as a human being and as an American. How does the American Rescue Plan sort of speak to Biden's intention to help folks, regardless of political party, sort of moving beyond that and into just moving forward and into a common ground place where everyone's going to benefit?
Yeah, one thing the president talks about a lot is that he doesn't view America in terms of red and blue, and it shouldn't matter how you voted or how your state voted when it comes to getting support from your federal government. Look, we collect taxes from Americans, whether they're Republican or Democratic. We swear an oath to Americans, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or none of the above. And we got to deliver for everybody. The president believes very strongly that American unity is built on looking after one another as a country. And I think that's a basic responsibility. You feel it. I felt it when I put up my right hand and took an oath, the same as I felt it when I took an oath to join the military. And you'll see that again reflected in this bill. The people who are going to find that there is support for their jobs, the small businesses that are going to benefit from this support, always checking how you voted in order to get that help out to you. This is about helping everybody because everybody is going to rise and fall together. America has one fate, one future, and we got to make sure that future is a good one.
For sure. And I really do think this is an opportunity for folks to come together. And I really feel like a hunger for that in, everyone just looking for ways to move forward as one nation. So that's really lovely. Wanted to go back to the transportation workers really quickly. I know this is sort of your area of expertise, and it's really exciting to see you taking leadership in that role. Transportation workers were some of the essential workers that literally kept this country going during this pandemic. The U.S. Postal Service, obviously, bus drivers, truck drivers, etc. What would you like to say to those people? And how can we sort of possibly give back to them and thank them for what they've done?
Yeah, we count on so many people to get up and go to work who don't have the luxury of working from home, who we need in order to get food to where it needs to be, definitely in order to get these vaccines to where they need to be. At the beginning of this week, actually, first thing I did Monday morning was go out to a UPS facility here, where you've got drivers who are mobilizing to get these vaccine doses to where they need to be. The hospital's waiting for their arrival. By the way, this is not a simple thing because a lot of them have to be refrigerated at very cold temperatures in order to work. There's actually a little chip on the package that's beaming back information about whether the package remains as cold as it's supposed to be. It takes a lot to get these doses out to where they are. But never mind if you're handling vaccine doses, if you're handling food, if you're handling packages. I mean, so many of us are depending on that in a new way. And look, the truth is this country doesn't treat essential workers like the critically important people they are. It doesn't pay essential workers enough. That's a whole other conversation that I'm hoping people continue to be able to drive here in Washington because we need higher wages. But you see these folks, you look them in the eye, you see the pride that they take in the work that they do. They're not asking for much other than respect. But speaking of respect, let me mention one other thing that's really important. The president issued an executive order making sure that we keep all of the means of travel safe, whether you're on an airplane or whether you're on a subway car. And that includes things like a mask mandate if you're close around other people. It is really important to respect the bus driver, the flight attendant, anybody who's in charge of making sure that everybody's keeping each other safe. We had a lot of issues of people getting in operators' faces, even some issues of violence. And there have been new enforcement actions to send a message that that's not acceptable. I think that's moved in the right direction. But it's a really important thing for everybody to remember to carry forward. If we say that we care about workers in this country, if we believe that it's important to show respect for people we count on, one good way to show it is to make sure that you're supportive when people are asking you to do something to keep yourself and others safe.
That's great. I think it's something we talk about a lot, about how much more important actions are than just the words. So it's good to hear you say that. And sticking with the theme of transportation a little bit, but making it maybe a bit more personal, I'm curious what your dream form of transportation is, both personally and for the nation, because I would love to see a jetpack in every garage, but I realize that may not happen. So
a zip line.
I didn't realize this jetpack, there was such a strong team jetpack. I just got asked, I was doing Jimmy Kimmel, and he asked the same question. He was like, where are the jetpacks? I'm worried about potholes, and he's interested.
They're flying around Los Angeles. There's been sightings by LAX. So.
All right, well, I got to check with the FAA on that. Yeah. Look, I mean, there's a lot of really exciting stuff coming for the future. You look at some of what's being proposed with hyperloops, with electric vehicle drones. We got to make sure we're getting it right when it comes to drones. But drones for delivery are pretty exciting. But a lot of my favorite ways of getting around are kind of old-fashioned. I'm actually picking up. I just got this great used bike. It's in the shop. I'm picking it up today, and I'm planning to be able to ride this weekend and get to work sometimes on a bike, which is what I'm always encouraging other people to do. And sometimes the simplest way to get around is the best. We got a lot of other cool stuff, from electric scooters to next generation aircraft and everything in between. I'm really excited about passenger rail. Look, I think there's no good reason why an American citizen ought to settle for an inferior train system to what citizens in other countries get. And you're going to hear me saying that a lot because we have a choice about whether we want to have good trains in this country, so that you have an alternative. You can choose between driving, taking a train, flying, depending on what's right for you. Most people believe in that, but we've never gotten it done. This might be our chance.
Yeah, I saw that map that went viral of the high-speed rail network all over the country. That was like the Gen Z dream, and you saying that that's the kind of dreaming we need to do. So hopefully we'll be able to think along those lines. It's exciting.
I think we can. I mean, there's a lot of energy for it. And again, this is a kind of investment that pays off. I mean, when we as a country make a decision that we're going to have great infrastructure, that unlocks tons of economic opportunity. It creates jobs. That's why civilization has grown all the way back to the days of the ancients, when they make choices to build roads and improve how you can get around. And I think we're at a moment, really a moment we probably haven't seen since the 1950s, when the Eisenhower administration set up the interstate highway system. I think we're in one of those moments now where we could do really big things when it comes to our infrastructure vision, including with rail.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear, because I think those really big things are what actually brings the country together. You know, when we have that common mission, and to see that reflected is, well, that would be amazing to see.
Yeah, it's true. And, you know, I've felt that since I took this job. Matter of fact, I have on the wall a framed copy of the roll call vote to remind me that a lot of Republicans as well as Democrats voted for confirmation for me to have this job. And I'm talking to people in both parties who believe we ought to do this. I mean, definitely among the American people. And I'm hoping that's going to be reflected here on Capitol Hill, too, because there's nothing partisan about the idea that you want to have a great way to get to work or a safe way to get to school.
See your family, etc., especially post-COVID.
Exactly. And I think we're all looking forward to being able to get around and get out.
Cannot wait. Awesome. Well, we just have a few minutes left. I wanted to end with a general question. And again, thank you so much for your time. This has been wonderful. What does it mean to you to be a good leader and also just a good person? I think that's a nice one to end with.
One thing I love about this department is I'm surrounded by good leaders and good people. And I feel that way in the president's cabinet, too. I mean, you've got people who put service first. They're here to help others. That's why they're in this. You know, they've often passed up chances to make a lot more money with a lot less stress, but have chosen public service because it's worth doing. And by the way, you know, we need a new generation to choose public service as a viable path. Here in the department, for example, I recently found out that just 1% of the people here at the Department of Transportation who work in IT are under the age of 30. Now, the people we have working here are great, but they're going to be retiring. We need more people to take their place. So that's my plug for public service, because I think that is part of leadership. I think empathy is a really important quality for leadership. Understanding what other people are going through and where other people are coming from. And I think listening is really important, especially now. We struggle to listen to each other as a country. And we've got to find better ways to do that. And you know, often the best way to lead an organization is by asking a lot of questions.
For sure.
It's great.
Well, this has been so lovely. Thank you so much for joining us, Secretary Buttigieg. Hope to see you very soon.
I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for the conversation. It was great.
Sounds good.
Great being with you. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you all for tuning in.